This is Joe Peroni.
I'm Heidi Mancini.
And welcome to the From Grief to Relief show on WCOBM.com. Heidi, any announcements?
Yeah, we want to take a minute to thank Frank Scander III, Frank's European Service, for sponsoring the From Grief to Relief show. And also Jay Young from City Athletic. He's also a sponsor of our show. So we want to say thank you. And also thank you to all of our listeners and our friends that support our show every week.
All right, so we have a very special guest today. This actually could take me the whole 40 minutes just trying to do the whole rundown. So hang on a second, all right? So Jess wears like a million hats, all right? So let's go. He's a husband. He's a father. He is the premier criminal defense attorney in Las Vegas. He owns his own restaurant. Obviously, he also has good taste in clothes. We got to talk about that too. He also competes, not just competes, he wins bodybuilding shows. True?
This is true.
And the one thing that's really crazy above all of this, he has also started doing stand-up comedy too. That's crazy.
This is true.
Oh my God.
All right, this is Jess Marchese.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so we got to talk about the suit.
Sure.
Who picks out your color and coordination and all that, man? Because I got to go with basics. I'm afraid to add blue to green to all this thing. And what's this thing you got going over there?
I like that's a boutonniere, right?
Yeah, and of course, coordinated, especially.
Oh, yeah, look at that. All right.
No, this is all me.
No, it's not.
This is all me. I do have to order my clothes because that's the one negative about working out. When you have to wear formal clothes, you cannot fit in formal clothes.
Yeah.
You have to go to the tailor 9 times. So no, I get all my stuff made. You know, I got the little insignia, my initials on the sleeve, and then in the interior. I got the whole thing going on.
Check him out.
How many suits do you own?
More than I should. Yes.
More than 10?
Way more than 10.
More than 50?
Well, probably not 50. No, I don't have 50. Shirts, we might be pushing 50.
Nice.
Wow. So, all right. So there's 24 hours in a day for most people.
Sure.
But obviously for you, there's got to be more. Like, how do you do all of these things at such a high level? Like, how do you make the time to do all this?
Well, I appreciate you saying I do it at a high level, but what I will say is, you know, what I tell people all the time, and this applies to whether it be to working out or anything that you want to do,
Right.
you make time. I remember in college, I would wake up at like 10, and I'd screw around, and I'd grab a bowl of cereal, and I'd watch some TV, and before you know it, it's 12:30.
Yeah.
You've wasted all this time in your day. So I'm very big on not wasting my time. So I try to multitask. Bluetooth is one of the best things that has ever come into existence. Because if you want to return phone calls, you know, back in the day, you used to sit on your landline and call
Right.
people back. Well, now you can drive to wherever you're going, and you can kill 2 birds with 1 stone. So, you know, if you want to do something, if you have a date with, you know, Channing Tatum, ladies will make time for a date with Channing Tatum.
Is that true?
Yes.
Right? So you just, you know, you have to prioritize. I try. It doesn't always work out that way, but I try to plan my day out, and I'm going to spend, you know, an hour and a half at the Grief to Relief show, and then after this, I know what I'm doing for the next hour and a half, and so on.
Wow. So specifically, what does it take to be a successful criminal defense attorney?
I think, as it is with anything else in life, you have to have a passion for what you do. You have to believe in it. You know, it's one thing when you just go to work 9 to 5 and you hate doing what you're doing because you have to pay your cell phone bill and your mortgage and your rent or whatever it is. But I pretty much, for the most part, I mean, you know, of course there's drawbacks, but I enjoy what I'm doing. So
Right.
a lot of it is a passion and an enjoyment for my craft. But it's just like anything else too, you have to work hard. I mean, maybe for other people there are shortcuts in life, and you know, there's get rich quick schemes and all that. But for me at least, I've always found that hard work is the best way to do things.
So there's no secret.
No, there's no secret. I mean, I've seen very talented attorneys, but they're either lazy or maybe they have substance abuse problems or whatever the reason is. They just don't put in the time and the effort, and they don't succeed.
So did you always have a passion for law, or
No, I didn't. I
Did
actually
you ever get in trouble with the law?
maybe that's what it is?
no. It was funny. I wanted to be in law enforcement, and I was in law enforcement for a little bit, and I realized that it didn't work. So, you see people all the time in life, and actually people I worked with, and they would sit there and they would complain and this and that, and I'd be like, well, you are in control of your own life. Wouldn't say it this way, but I'd say, well, why don't you just go work somewhere else? And they'd look at me like I had three heads, as if they were stuck and they were sentenced to work in this crappy job that they disliked for the rest of their lives. So I just decided I was going to go to law school. I had no plan. I just knew I was going to law school, and usually the end game when you go to law school is you become an attorney. And I actually wound up getting into the whole criminal defense trial lawyer thing because I'm irresponsible.
Get out of here!
So what had happened was I was taking a trial practice class, and it's pass-fail. So you basically just show up, put in the bare minimum, and you're going to pass. Well, we were given assignments, and I wrote down the incorrect assignment. And my assignment was to do the closing argument at this mock trial that we were doing. But I had a different assignment. So we go in, and I'm like, oh my God, I have not prepared anything. I got to figure something out. But the good thing about the closing argument is you go last. So I waited the whole class, and I'm sitting there and I'm writing out stuff and this and that, and finally it comes up to my time, and I didn't even use the notes because it really wasn't organized, and I just got up and I just started arguing, and I just was passionate, and I conveyed a good message because I was arguing to all the fellow students. They were the jury. And when I was done, and it was probably the worst closing argument I've probably ever given, but for whatever reason...
Well, because you weren't prepared.
For whatever reason, they liked it, and they started clapping. And I left class, and I was like, well, I guess I got something here. And then from there on, it just kind of guided me in that direction. So it was dumb luck.
Ah.
So be irresponsible, people. You will find your calling if you're irresponsible.
So are you passionate now that you're good at it?
Well, I appreciate you saying I'm good. I mean, I like to think I'm good. No, definitely, it's definitely a passion. Oftentimes I'll be working late at night in my house, and it's not as if I'm working though. It's something that I enjoy. Seeing the angles and seeing how I need to present my arguments and how the other side is going to present their arguments, because that's also a big part of it. Is trying to play devil's advocate, seeing what the other side's going to do.
So okay, in bodybuilding, right? Like, for the real bodybuilders, such as me and you, and Heidi, what happens is that when we see the mirror, we're not looking for how awesome we are, right? We're looking for things that we need to improve, something where someone else could beat us. So we need to improve weaknesses. So that being true, how does that help you in law?
Well,
Right? It's the same thing, right?
Sure. No, absolutely. Well, I think in anything in life, you should always be confident, but never overconfident. Because confidence is important anywhere, whether it be on the show, if I'm here and I'm being weak and timid, nobody wants to watch that. No one wants to listen to that. Same thing in a courtroom. You have to go in and, I always tell my clients, there's a big difference between I didn't do that and I didn't do that. It's the exact same sentence. If you read a transcript, it reads the exact same way, but you can see the difference.
Right.
So, it's very important to be confident, but at the same time, if you're overconfident, you're not going to look at your weaknesses. Maybe you're not going to work as hard. I mean, you should always, when you're in court or in bodybuilding or anything in life, act like it's the last time you're doing that. Because if you're not, then you're gonna pull back on the gas pedal, and you're not going to get the full extent of what you should, of whatever your goal is, whether it be bodybuilding, law, whatever it is.
You ever take it personally if you lose?
Of course you take it personal, but at the end of the day, if you worked your butt off and you did what you were supposed to and you did your job, I mean, yeah, you don't like to lose. No one likes to lose. No one goes into any kind of competition with the belief that you're going to lose, but at the same time, I mean, that's all you can do is just give it your all.
Right. So, Jess, now at the TV show, we got breaks.
All right.
So we'll be right back after this message from Jess.
Person, and I have bills to pay just like you do, and I have a family to look after. So when you sit down and you talk to me, I'm not going to talk down to you. All I'm going to do is I'm going to sit there and we're going to talk about your case, and you're going to feel comfortable talking to me, because you need to feel comfortable talking to me. Because when you're telling me intimate details about what you did or didn't do, you need to be able to communicate with me. and feel that I'm not going to pass some kind of judgment upon you and tell you that you're a poor person and that you did something horrible. What I'm going to do is I'm going to sit down and I'm going to give you the pros and the cons of your case, and I'm going to give you an expert legal opinion. But at the end of the day, the ultimate decision is yours, because the ultimate responsibility has to lie with you of paying fines, of doing classes, or maybe even going to prison. So the best real thing to do, though, is to just call me. You can call me at 385-JESS, which is 385-5377, and I'd love to talk to you. I'd love to sit down with you, and I'll give you a free consultation, and we could talk about my case. Thank you.
I'm Joe Peroni.
I'm Heidi Mancini.
Welcome to the From Grief to Relief show on WCOBM.com. And we have a very special guest. Jess Marchese is with us. All right.
We wish we had clapping in the background.
All right. So as much as you probably want to talk about law all day long, like more of it, I got a different question for you, okay?
All right, let's do it.
All right, I'm going to make sure I get this right, just so we know what we're doing here. All right. So in the era of participation trophies, skinny jeans, entitlement issues, and man buns.
Man buns. Ugh.
Do you think our type of masculinity is actually becoming obsolete in this country?
Yes, I definitely think too. I mean, kind of a rhetorical question. No, unfortunately, I think it is. I think that I don't think there's anything wrong with a man being a man and a woman being a woman. Now,
Right.
I don't subscribe to the theory that women should be barefoot and pregnant in the kitchen.
Right.
You know, my wife works. She's a strong, independent woman, and I like that about her. That's one of the things that attracted me to her. But at the same time, you know, I see it in my office all the time with parents. I get a lot of young males in my office, and either they don't have strong father figures or they don't have a father figure in their office, in their lives. And moms, you know, they can have that role, but for whatever reason, mothers tend to be the more loving, nurturing types.
Right.
And I don't think that there's anything wrong with a man teaching their son how to be a man.
Exactly.
And especially in today's society, there's a serious void of that for whatever reason.
So, okay, you had a question?
I was going to say, in your situation, being a strong man and a great father, with your son, and you have Leanna, your wife,
Sure.
and her mom, they're primarily his, you know, they're around the females a lot. How do you, as the dad and the strong male figure, get your point across to your son how to be a young man, a young boy, if he falls, you know,
Well,
treat it differently, you know, or...
I mean, it's not that I lack compassion, okay? But my son falls, and it's funny because, you know, the way you're taught at a young age, obviously, we all know this, has a large part of your character development. Mm-hmm. So I see with my son, if my wife or my mother-in-law is around and he falls, he runs to them, and the way he acts, he expects a lot more of a response than if he does it to me. Now, of course, you know, if his head is bleeding or something,
right.
I'm going to take him for attention. But at the same time, there's a definite difference. Now, you know, he's only 5 right now. Not that fathers aren't important at all stages, but I think especially the older a child gets, the more important it is for a father to be there, because once those life lessons where teaching someone how to be a man come into play, and the older he gets, the more important they become.
Do you think, though, like I've noticed this with a lot of the men in their 20s and 30s, and not all, I want to say not all, because people say, you know, you're saying all guys are like this. No, I'm not. I'm saying the majority of what I see is they are very feminized, a lot of them. And I don't know, the girls even seem more aggressive than the men do in a certain time frame. And I don't know, I was talking to Joe about this, with the generation that's coming up, like your son's age, because we're aware of it now. We're aware of that we have these millenniums, they call them. And they're very entitled, they don't work very hard, they don't do a lot of things very hard. There's just a general lack of enthusiasm. Do you think, by you seeing what's going on now with this middle generation, actually be my daughter's age, I raised one of those, if you technically, do you think there's an awareness to try to get our guys to become more male
Well, what I always say is I don't care what goes on outside of my home. I'm responsible for me, for my family, for my son, and what goes in the four walls of my home. So I can't control what goes on in society. But I will say that in my house, first of all, we teach humility. We are very charity oriented because fortunately I make an okay living and I'm able to do a lot of things that maybe a lot of other people aren't able to do. And my son sees that. I mean, my son's been to about 5 different countries, and he's 5. There are people that are adults that have never been to 5 countries. So he doesn't understand that it isn't like that for everyone else. So, we'll go feed the homeless, we'll do veterans charities and things of that nature, go to Shade Tree, see kids who have no parents, they're living in a shelter. So that's number one, is to teach humility and personal responsibility. That's a lot where, I personally have a big problem with the direction that our country is going, because a lot of people don't take personal responsibility, and it goes to this whole victim mentality.
Oh, I hate
And
that.
you can't say nothing. I mean, it's the thing. You can't have a conversation anymore with somebody and say, like, you can't go up to somebody now and say, you didn't do that. Like, we have it in our salon. You try to give these kids corrective criticism that are coming into our workforce, and they want to get paid, but they don't want any because they've been told their whole lives how awesome they are. So now you have to worry about, and now I got to worry about offending somebody all the time.
Well, and that's fine, but you know what? And one thing my son will learn is, what? You're not awesome. You're not special, okay? Because the chances are he's not going to be the next LeBron James. He's not going to have a platinum record, and that's okay. It doesn't mean that he doesn't have worth in society and he can't do great things. But that percentage of being special is so limited out there, and that's what we teach our kids. I mean, when was the last time you heard one of your friends talk about their kids in a negative way? Say that well, maybe my kid isn't that smart, but he can do X, Y, and Z. No, everyone's kid is on the honor roll. I mean, really, how big is the honor roll?
Yeah,
It's the whole school.
It gets ridiculous, and as a society, I think we've lost our independence. We look to government a lot more to take care of us. There's more people on disability today than in the history of this country. You really mean to tell me that our medicine hasn't advanced to the point that there's so many Americans who are sick? I mean, think about JFK.
Right.
A lot of people say one of the greatest presidents in the history of the country. What is his famous quote? Ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country.
Those words are like, people don't even understand what that means anymore.
No, he is rolling around in his grave and probably vomiting on himself, seeing what is going on right now as a country, because no one wants to take responsibility and everyone is a victim.
The other question I'm going to ask both of you guys is because when you're around men like you guys have this strong, I always say, Joe, this is strong bodies, these strong, tough guys. But every one of you that I know are very sensible, very sensitive, intelligent. And I want to know, what do you think makes you guys be that way? Because you can honestly say there's a lot of guys that are not.
That's true.
And people get this misconception when they see big guys and they're bodybuilders. Oh, they're these big, dumb, aggressive.
That's their weakness.
Whatever. And everyone that I know that is anything, they are not like that at all. They're awesome human beings. So I just want to know what makes you guys. Is it your childhoods and how you were raised and maybe going without things, a father, I don't know.
Go ahead.
Well, I think a lot of it has to do, number one, with where we came from, because Joe and I came from a very similar geographical area in New York, where there's a heavy Italian community, and I think at least where I was from, Italians tended to be a lot more masculine. They tended to be a lot more patriarchal. I remember the way my grandfather would talk to my grandmother. He did believe she should be barefooted.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Love my grandfather, but don't necessarily agree with that. So that's a big part of it. But being masculine isn't about being tough. It's not about beating people up. A lot of it is just being confident in who you are. And you don't need to say it in order to convey it.
Okay.
No, that's true. A real man, actually, we don't need trophies. All that is external validation. We feel good about who we are, right? Like the standard that you live up to, it's yours, right? It's character.
Well, yeah, I don't need to be told how to live my life. I'm a man. I know who I am. I have self-confidence, but more important, I have self-awareness. You see these guys that walk around and, they want to be all tough and manly, quote unquote. Usually those guys have low self-esteems and they don't know who they are. They have no idea what they're doing in life or where they're going in life. So, when you have your goals and you know what you're about, that's very important. So I think that has a lot to do with masculinity, because if you're not strong and grounded in your own base, how can you be a real man? How can you take care of your family? If you can't even take care of yourself, how are you going to take care of other people?
You can't. So we'll get back to that, but again with the breaks. So we'll be right back after these messages. This is Joe Peroni.
This is Heidi Mancini.
And welcome back to the From Grief to Relief show on WCOBM.com. Segment 3 with Jess Marchese. All right, so I'm going to keep hitting you on this masculinity thing.
Sure.
All right, so let's say today your son goes to school, then you see him after school, and he is holding a participation trophy in his hand. What do you do?
Well, that's real simple. You pull the James Harrison, the football player, and you throw it away.
Seriously?
Yes.
But okay, but tell me how you explain that, because he's 5. Like, you can't just throw his trophy away.
Well, you talk about goals and you talk about rewards,
right?
And you say that when you work hard for something in life, you have a goal and you will get a reward. But just by simply showing up to something, that cheapens it by giving just someone a plaque or a ribbon or a trophy or whatever the case may be.
Right.
I mean, I'm here to raise a strong, confident male, and part of doing that is, you're going to lose. You're probably going to lose a lot more than you're going to win.
Yeah.
But you know what? That builds character. True. So I don't think there's anything wrong with that, of saying, listen, when you do something, you do it 100% as hard as you can. You have a goal in mind. You try to reach that goal, and if you don't make it, better luck next time. Try again, and you will have some success, just not always.
But then look at the winner. I've said this before too. When you have somebody that wins, and they have to minimize their win to make everybody else feel happy, so everybody else gets a participation trophy. So the winner now feels, how are they supposed to feel about being the winner?
Well, that's right. It kind of cheapens their victory as well. I mean, if he was the winner, there's nothing wrong with being the winner. That's great. You should be a winner. But, you take it, you have some humility, and, because once again, it goes back to being confident in yourself. You won. You know you were the best. Do you really need to jump up and act a fool and rape a cheerleader on TV? Look at me! Act like you've been there before. Right.
Oh my God.
And going back real quick to what you said before, why are confident, strong men nice guys inside? I'll give you part of my answer, because Jess already kind of said it. It's because I have probably lost more times than most people are willing to even try. So I know what it's like to lose, and I know what it's like to feel bad, and I know what it's like to say, you know what, I'm not quitting, and then I keep trying. So when I win, we earn it, right? Like, come on, let's be honest. Like, you've lost bodybuilding shows.
Sure, and it's hard. It's hard.
Yeah.
I mean, it's first of all, just the fact of getting up there in front of maybe 1,000 people, maybe more. These bright lights on you, and you're literally wearing next to nothing. I mean, that takes a lot of
Can't
guts.
hide.
There's bikini and lights don't hide much.
Yeah. And you've won though too. Just to be fair.
Well, yeah,
what does it feel like to win though after going through all that torture?
No, I mean, certainly a great feeling, because especially with bodybuilding, because it's not like it's a sprint where it's just you train for it and then you do your sprint and you win after 20-30 seconds, however long your sprint took. Bodybuilding it's a long process. I mean, it's certainly more of a marathon than a sprint.
Oh yeah.
So it's a longer process to get to your goal.
Right, which builds character. So that's really the
It
contest
builds
right
patience.
there.
It builds character. Because I would say there's like a gentle aloofness to gentlemen. What I say. They're not. They don't get hysterical. They don't get reactive like women do. Because you see men out there, they're getting mad and nasty, and you're like, what is your when you see a guy act like that, you kind of go, that's crazy.
Sure.
We're used to, and I hate to say we're used to seeing women being reactive, which is not acceptable either. But when you see a guy do it, it's just, it's like, what is wrong with you? And I just wonder what.
That's what I say.
What?
I think it maybe definitely goes back to women being women and men being men. Women tend to be more emotional, and that's okay. That's who women are, genetically. And men tend to be a little bit less emotional for whatever reason. That's how God made us. So, there's nothing wrong with being who you are.
Mm-hmm.
So in therapy, we constantly talk about this. I'm always butting heads, right? Because they keep wanting to talk about your feelings and emotions and how they affect behavior. And that's the model that they run on. And it doesn't work, right? I mean, all you got to do is take a look around at the numbers of how many young people are on heroin these days. These things just don't work. So what do you think? How many times have your feelings and emotions have affect your decision making and your behaviors?
Well, the older I get, the less it happens.
Right.
You learn how to restrain your feelings, because really, especially in anything professionally, emotions have no place in decision making. If, let's say, you want to fire someone at my restaurant, and I really like them, and maybe they have a family, but they stole. Should I feel bad for their family if I fire them? I mean, yeah,
you feel bad.
You do, but at the end of the day, on paper, if you ask 100 people, 99 of them are going to say, you have an employee, that employee stole from you. What should you do? They're going to say you're going to fire them. So if you let your emotions get involved with a business-making decision, then there's really no place for it, because it blurs the line and makes you make irrational decisions.
Right. So we want to be reasonable.
Sure.
So if your thoughts, let's say your feelings and your emotions should not affect your behavior, what are the things that should affect your behavior?
Well, you have control of yourself. You are not a victim, okay?
Right.
Contrary to whatever our society teaches us, because we are in a political season right now.
Absolutely.
You can't get away from it, and it's on both sides, okay? Our media, our politicians are manipulating you, everyone out there, to make you think that you're a victim, because there's a lot of money and there's a lot of power to be had by telling you that you're a victim. I mean, and like I said, it's on both sides. You see Black Lives Matter. I agree. We all agree Black Lives Matter. But how bad and how downtrodden are blacks in America? When we had a black president for 8 years who won resoundingly, it wasn't even close.
No, actually it wasn't.
Right.
So how prejudiced can America be? Look, and then let's take it on the other side. Let's look at Donald Trump. Donald Trump, what is he doing? He's making everyone afraid and fear-mongering, making you, Mr. White Guy, you're the victim of these Mexicans who are taking your jobs, and our trade that's going over to China, and it's going over to Mexico and all these other countries, and we have these trade deficits. And we buy off on it as Americans. Like, yeah, I'm a victim. Go Trump. Go Black Lives Matter. Go Hillary. I mean, because we'll hear about the war on women. We're about to have a woman running for president. Obviously, women have a lot of power.
She's more power than I do.
Absolutely.
Does she have more power than you?
Yes, she does.
You admit it, right?
She does.
She does.
Everybody knows who Hillary Clinton is. So, it comes back to you. You control you. You live in America. You live in the greatest country on this planet. We have a democracy, and yeah, I get it. Some people are born with a silver spoon in their mouth, and some people aren't. But at the end of the day, if you work hard, you do the right things, you set goals, you meet those goals, you'll have your slice of the American pie too.
I agree. So, as a lawyer, do you just do like the lawyer part of the job, or do sometimes you end up being somebody's father figure?
Well,
right? I mean, I'm just thinking because
yeah, no, it's very true. A lawyer, you can wear a lot of hats. First of all, you're a lawyer. You argue the law. You're a negotiator. In most cases, don't go to trial. They negotiate. So you have to generate relationships with the prosecutors and definitely try to work things out in a professional manner. And then many times when you're dealing with the client, I've had many talks with young males especially, and I preface it with, listen, I'm going to talk to you right now like the father that you've never had. because they're not used to being talked to in a certain way. They have enabling mothers or fathers, or maybe they don't even have that.
Right.
So someone has to set these guys straight because they're just not, they've never had that before.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, yeah, there's a certain portion of it where you turn into therapist / social worker.
Yeah. And you're good at it.
Well, I like to think so. I mean, because it's, the communication is part of it. You have to be able to communicate properly with your clients. I mean, if you talk like a lawyer to some kid that grew up in a very poor neighborhood and you start using big fancy legal terms, I mean, they don't
No
get
connection.
Yeah, there's no connection. If you say, hey, listen, man, here's what's up. And you talk to them like that, and all of a sudden,
Then you
you break down that barrier.
Hey, guess what? I go on to break. Hey, take us to break.
All right, and here we are, going to On Break with the Joe Peroni and Heidi Mancini show, Grief to Relief.
I'm Joe Peroni.
I'm Heidi Mancini.
And welcome back to the From Grief to Relief show on WCOBM.com. Segment number 4. It's going by way too fast.
It's going really
and
fast.
Special guest, Jess
Marchese. Woo.
All right, so I know you want to talk about law, but I want to I like the manly stuff. Are you good?
Sure.
All right. So tell me what this garbage is about man caves now, right? First of all, the term, I'm not going to tell you what I think yet, but there's even a TV show about man caves. And I'm like, well, go ahead, take it from there. What is a man cave exactly?
Well, I just think it goes to show how much men in general, or parents in general, have given up the power to their children. I remember a couple months back, this gal, and she said she was going home, she's going to get dinner, and she had to stop at like 3 places because her kids each like a different food. And I remember, like, when I was a kid, it was like, there was no gluten intolerance or anything like that. I was like, this is what we're serving you, and this is what you're going to eat. And if you don't like it, that's fine, but you'll be hungry. And now
You'll eat tomorrow.
Right. And now parents, they cave into their children, and they basically do whatever their kids want them to do. And that's where this whole man cave thing came in. I remember, once again, when I was a kid, when we wanted to watch TV, I never got to watch what I wanted to watch. I watched what my parents were watching, and there was no say in the matter. And now it's come to the point where the kids have taken over the entire house, and if you're lucky, you might get to get a man cave, and you get to get your own spot in your house on the mortgage that you pay, and your TV that your kids watch. And it just shows how society has turned to the fact where, these kids become so entitled.
Right.
And they get everything that they want. They're never told no. They never move out.
That's
Never
true.
move out. That's
Playing
true.
video games until they're 35.
They have no communication skills. And all they do is they're just given money by their parents until they're, 30-something years old. And their parents die, and then they get their money.
And then they end up in your office, though.
Very true.
Or you end up counseling them.
And then I end up counseling them. And they want deep dish pizza parties when they're 35 years old.
It's like, yeah.
What are you talking about? That's an inside joke. Anyway. But okay, so the man cave, right? Like a definition would be, I guess, most people think it's a place where a man can be himself.
Sure.
Well, if you're a real man, isn't that place called Earth? Like, I mean, what is it? You're holed up in this little room with empty beer cans and some old VHS or something videos, and that's it? Like, what are you talking? Like, I don't understand that. How much power have men given away?
Well, I think that's exactly the point. I think that you hit the nail on the head, that men have given it away. I think as a society, we don't, the John Waynes of the world, the strong men, the Gary Cooper, the strong silent type, those have gone away because men are not supposed to be men anymore. You're supposed to be in touch with your feelings, and women are supposed to be equal with men. And don't get me wrong, they are, but you're just basically you're putting the square peg in the round hole. A man is a man, and a woman is a woman. Let them be.
So I don't know anything about law, but you have to. I saw it on TV. Okay, so you have to do like this big speech at the end. What do they call that?
Sure. Closing argument.
Closing
arguments.
argument. Okay, so you're convincing the people in the jury.
Sure.
Of some, obviously.
Right.
All right. So Do you have to spend any time at all thinking, okay, I'm a big, strong, manly guy, and I might be turning off half these women because I'm kind of alpha? Like, do you have to, well, obviously with your clothes you don't tone it down, but is there some part of you that you have to tone down in our society to kind of fit in to win a little more, or no?
Sure. Well, you always have to be aware of your audience. That's whatever you're doing. You have to be aware of who you're talking to and what you're trying to convey. Me, I try not to get too close. You know, if I was a petite 5'2", 200-pound girl, I could probably get a little bit closer to the jury, as opposed to a guy like me up on top of them. Maybe that's a little intimidating to them.
Never
But
thought of that.
you know, it's always good. It comes back to a few things. You know, you can always use a little bit of humor. I mean, you don't want to get up there and, you know, make it like it's a Laurel and Hardy episode, but a little bit of humor helps. Everyone likes humor, you know, breaks the ice a little bit. You can always, I like to use analogies to my life. I'll talk about my son. Everybody likes kids, right? For the most part.
There you go.
I'll talk about my dogs. I'll try to
Okay.
weave them in.
So you're definitely conscious of this.
Oh, yeah, no, absolutely.
Wow. Okay.
And these are things that, generally speaking, and once again, whether it be in the law or whether it be in life, you can start weaving those things in. And, you know, when you start finding common ground with people, like, oh, yeah, I got grandkids, or oh, I got a dog or a pet or whatever. And all of a sudden, you just kind of, it took everyone down a notch, kind of broke the walls down, and it makes you a little bit more likable and personable.
Wow. Okay. How about, I mean, you want to be authoritative, though, right?
Sure.
But can you what if you get a little
Well,
passionate? Is that okay? Or do you tone that down because it might be seen as aggression?
Well, there's a time to do it and there's a time not to do it. You can definitely, I mean, like if I have a police officer on the stand, I'm going to go at him. Absolutely. You're an alpha male, I'm an alpha male, let's do this. Now, if I have a 4-year-old child, I'm not going to start yelling at a 4-year-old. Like, they're going to be like, who is this idiot? So I'll take a chair and I'll sit down and I'll take my voice down a little bit and I'll talk to them like a parent or, you know, a teacher. So they're a little bit more comfortable. So you have to know your audience. You also have to know what you're talking about. I mean, I just did a sexual assault trial last week. Nasty case, bad guy. But, you know, it's this touchy subject. No one wants to hear about some gal. I mean, it wasn't consensual. That wasn't the argument. I mean, it was pretty brutal. He pistol whipped her. He used a gun.
Wow.
It was rough. So you got to be very conscious of what you talk about. You don't want to offend people, but you also have to do right by your client.
Right.
And try to defend him. But I mean, at the end of the day, justice was served. He was found guilty. He was guilty.
And you defended him.
And I slept fine, and the prosecutor slept fine. And I shook both of their hands, and I took them out to lunch on Monday. I said, thank you. I took them to my restaurant, and it was good.
That's a perfect segue, by the way. Look at this. We only have 2.5 minutes. Can we talk about your restaurant?
Sure.
Tell us everything.
Yeah, so I own a restaurant. It's called Dougie J's Cafe. It's on Las Vegas Boulevard, and there's a story behind it. It's a military American theme, and the reason for the name is that I have a partner, and my partner's Sonny. Her son passed away. He was killed in action, so we named it after him. So it's pretty cool. You know, it's touching to me, although I didn't know Douglas. He has many of the people he served with will come in just randomly out of the blue, and they, you know, we have a sign and they'll take a picture in front of the Dougie J's Cafe sign, because, you know, apparently he was a larger than life kind of figure and a lot of people remembered him. So they'll come by and they'll say, hey, you know, I served with Dougie, and, you know, maybe tell a story or two. It's pretty cool.
That's awesome.
So yeah, no, it's fun. I never owned a restaurant. It was just something, you know, you miss 100% of the shots that you don't take. So, you know, a lot of people are afraid of losing and not succeeding, and don't get me wrong, I have that fear as well. But if you don't try it, then how do you know?
So the menu is yours, right? I mean, there are recipes that you
pretty
did.
Pretty much.
Everybody, he makes cupcakes, the best lemon cupcakes.
We just
Jess, I gotta tell you, the best lemon cupcakes. He even puts the little lemon drop on top.
Also, besides all the other things you do and owning the restaurant, these are all dishes that you make yourself or have made at home. Is that
For the most part, yeah. That actually is because of bodybuilding. Dieting for a show, I vicariously tried to live through food by cooking. Even though I couldn't eat it, I would cook it, which makes no sense whatsoever. You think that there would be a lot more temptation because of that. But that's how I kind of really got into cooking, was by doing that. So the restaurant thing just came about, and then we threw in the recipes, and here we are.
all right? So tell everybody again where it is and your hours of operation.
Okay, we're open Monday through Saturday. We're at downtown Las Vegas, which is Las Vegas Boulevard, 601 is the physical address, and Bonneville is the cross street. Everybody knows the show The Pawn Stars. We're a block and a half north of them, same side of the road. We serve breakfast and lunch, breakfast all day. We're open from 9 to 3, and come on down, check us out.
Perfect. This is Jess Marchese. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for
Thank
having
you.
me.
Thanks for
And
having
this has
us.
been the
Thank
From
you.
Grief to Relief show. Thank you.